Welcome to Family Watch, where we bring you Catholic conversations on marriage, parenting, and family life. Ako nga pala po si Pjay Remo ng EduChild Foundation. At kasama ko ngayon ang aking asawa na si Rhona Remo. 15 years na po kaming kasal at may 4 na anak. Naalala ko almost 6 years ago ay pumayag at pinagbigyan na rin niya ako sa kahilingan ko na manatili na lang siya sa bahay para alagaan ang lumalaki naming pamilya. At Family Watch, we believe that the path to the renewal of society and transformation of the church begins and through the family by strengthening marriages, empowering parents, and bringing families closer to Christ. So, welcome to episode 58.
Thank you, B. Wow, almost 6 years ago na pala nung huminto akong magtrabaho. Yan, ang bilis talaga naman ng panahon.
Talaga.
Pero hindi naman ako nagtatrabaho, na-realize ko na yung skills pala that you need in the office are actually the same skills that you need in managing a home. And homemaking itself is also a profession. But technically, we can call it such kasi bilang nanay or bilang tatay, wala naman tayong sweldo.
Wala naman
Diba?
talaga.
And when you Google the word profession, the top answer that you will see is that it says that profession is a paid occupation, especially one that involves prolonged training and a formal qualification. Tapos, sabi pa ni Cambridge Dictionary,
Talagang nag-research.
nag-research ako. Profession means any type of work that needs special training or a particular skill, often one that is respected because it involves a high level of education.
Kaya siguro mas appropriate talaga na tawagin itong bakasyon. It's because it's a response to a call. At dahil na-Google ka, nag-research na rin ako. Ang sabi ni Google, ang top answer ni Google, ang sabi, vocation is one's response to a call from beyond oneself to use one's strengths and gifts to make the world a better place through service, creativity, and leadership.
Yes, and in creating a home, it's really going beyond ourselves. Kasi imagine the responsibility that we have as parents. You know, what's involved in raising children to become responsible adults. No, ang dami ng naging episodes ng Family Watch and helping families in the field of marriage, parenting, and family life. But for us as hosts of Family Watch, every first week of the month, dahil wala namang professional school in homemaking, our episodes will focus on creating a home that is bright and cheerful. Kapag ka pinakinggan mo, parang madali lang but I'm sure it has its own challenges too.
And today, we are very lucky to have a great couple with us who can give us some tips on how to create a bright and cheerful home. So, introduce na natin sila para masimulan na natin ang usapang ito. No? Paolo and Leah Evalle have been married for almost 5 years. They have 2 children named Bella, 3.5 years old, and Enzo, 2 years old. Paolo is an entrepreneur and consultant in the food and beverage industry, real estate, financial technology, and acquisition advisory.
Wow, bigatin.
Lodi.
Grabe pala tong classmate ko. Si Leah naman works for the Asian Development Bank in the Treasury Department, processing foreign exchange and investment settlements. Grabe itong dalawa na to, professionally. Wow. But together, they enjoy watching Netflix movies, taking strolls around the village, and having the kids experience different fun activities outdoors and indoors. And alam mo ba, every night, they put their children to sleep. Grabe, di ba? Yung dedication as parents.
Yes.
And parang simpleng gawain, pero for sure, this action really creates a core memory to their children. So, game na. So, Paolo and Leah, they have been serving in EduChild for the past 3 years as couple facilitators to parents who join the various family enrichment courses offered by EduChild Foundation. So, let's welcome them now.
Huwag natin patagalin, no? So, Paolo and Leah Evalle, welcome to Family Watch.
Hello, thank you.
Hello.
Pjay and Rhona.
Right, thank you for being here, no, and guesting in this episode.
Yeah, no, we're very excited to be here, to share and also to learn, no?
Yes.
About our topic.
Alright, sige, wag na natin patagalin ito. Gusto ka nang magtanong. Pero ang una kong tatanungin si Paolo. Kasi, pag narinig mo yung word na home, bahay, ganyan, parang automatic ang naa-associate mo, mommy, di ba, yung nanay. So, gusto ko marinig from Paolo, when you hear the word bright and cheerful home, what comes to your mind?
Well, una pag home kakabahan ka kasi parang sa pagtatay ka, ikaw yung papagawa ng bahay at lahat-lahat, 'di ba? So minsan may ganung mindset, 'di ba? Pero yun nga, syempre we learned essentially that one, the husband has to take a very active role in building a home, unlike maybe a few generations ago where you have the traditional roles na ang babae ang in charge lang sa bahay, ang lalaki magtatrabaho, uuwi, kakain, matutulog. Ngayon, iba na ho ang generation ngayon. Talagang kailangan involved kasi alam natin na ang pag-develop ng bata, kailangan po ng nanay at ng tatay. Yun yung una. To answer your question, Rons, yung talagang naalala ko, no, pag bright and cheerful home, is ito yung place kung saan may tinatawag na talagang unconditional love. Kumbaga kahit gaano ka kasalbahe, sa labas, sa school, ganyan, pag uwi mo, ikaw pa ang pinaka-poging lalaki sa mundo, pinaka-poging anak ng nanay mo. Mamahalin at mamahalin ka niya. So sa akin, summa total, ito ang lugar kung saan merong acceptance, forgiving, understanding, and unconditional love.
Wow, ang ganda nun ah. So, a bright and cheerful home, may unconditional love. Regardless, kahit na gaano pa kasama, kahit naman ang gawin mo outside. No? Usually, pagka nagkakaroon tayo ng ganitong concepts in mind, na-form yan based on mga past experiences, kung paano tayo lumaki, kung ano yung mga naranasan natin. Sa inyo, paano nabuo yung konsepto na ganon yung klase ng bright and cheerful home? Meron bang experiences while growing up na your families have provided a certain kind of environment that led you to this idea of what a bright and cheerful home is?
Yes. If I may answer Rhona and Pjay. So for me, in my experience in our own family, when I was growing up, our parents allowed us to grow in a Christian family environment. Ako ang panganay sa 3 magkakapatid, and lahat kami pina-join ng parents namin sa Community of Couples for Christ. So mula bata kami, mula Kids for Christ, naging teenagers kami, Youth for Christ, at nung nagtatrabaho na kami, Singles for Christ. So lahat ng stages ng paglaki namin, our parents guided us and allowed us to join the community. And from there, we were able to create a bright and cheerful home. So sa bahay, meron kaming weekly family rosary praying together. Meron din kaming service sa community, like nagpe-prepare kami ng food or snacks for our monthly gatherings. So na-expose din kami sa pag-serve sa simbahan, sa church. My parents, they are lay ministers, and my dad and my mom is a lector. So kami rin, ako rin naging lector, for example. And then, so yung celebration sa bahay, yung togetherness, yung unity, yung service kay Lord, nandoon. And our home was filled with a spirit of service, happiness, and togetherness and unity in the faith and in love. So there.
Siguro, Rons, yung ako naman sa family ko, no, to add to what Leah said, is napakagandang example nakita ko dun sa dad ko saka sa mom ko, di ba? Na kapag minsan, to the point nga na talagang yung dad ko, kahit 30,000 words a day, pinapakinggan yung nanay ko, to the point nga na ngayon, kahit tingin na nga yung side niya, ng tenga niya, kung saan parating yung nanay ko na nandun, di ba? So talagang tinitiis talaga niya yung ganung point. And nakita ko naman, at the same time, yung mom ko was very patient when it comes to my dad, no? Siguro we'll allude to that point later on, pero to answer your question quickly, it's the love ng parents ko who I saw and proved to be an example. Isa pang siguro gusto kong sabihin is yung sense of humor was very prevalent in our family, no? Siguro isa na rin side na nakakatawa yung mga mukha namin, pero the other side also is the fact na yung sense of humor allows us to take a lighter view of life and problems. And I think pangatlo naman is yung isang anecdote na gusto ko sabihin, no. I remember one time yung dad ko accidentally naputol ko yung finger niya kasi I accidentally smashed the car door sa finger niya. Pero I was so surprised na after that he forgave me. So, dun lang nakikita ko yung all of these things na bright and cheerful home. Syempre, on one side, all the activities you do are enjoyable. But on the other side, once you have that concept na napaka-forgiving ng magulang mo and they're accepting of who you are, it's a very, very good place to grow up in.
Parang ang sarap naman sa bahay niyo, Paolo. Grabe kaya siguro yung sabi mo kanina, unconditional love. Imagine mo, naputol mo yung finger niya, tapos pinatawad ka niya.
Naipit,
lang
pero
naman.
natanggal. Kumbaga I don't wanna describe, pero almost kalahati, natanggal na. Pumunta kami, we were in the airport. But anyway, the point, I don't wanna be too gruesome, pero the point is, ganun talaga sila. So I'm very thankful. And I think later we'll discuss lang na it's really the parents who will drive the bright and cheerful home.
Sige. May iba naman ako. No? Do you think, in your opinion, no, yung happy home ba synonymous to a bright and cheerful home? Or paano ba sila nagiging pareho? Or paano sila magkaiba?
Okay.
So yes, I think your question, PJ, yes, it's synonymous. Happy home is synonymous to a bright and cheerful home. Well, one way ng pagiging magkakapareho nila ay una muna sa physical aspect or sa happy disposition na pag happy, pag masaya, bright and cheerful kasi parang, syempre, happy, wala katawa, nagsi-celebrate, for example. Isa lang yun sa mga aspeto ng pagiging bright and cheerful. Parang basic lang yung pagiging masaya kasi together kayo, nagsi-celebrate, for example, ng birthdays. Kapag happy, kapag nag-celebrate ng birthdays, talagang nagpe-prepare kami, for example, sa sarili namin pamilya, sa mga anak namin, and with our own parents. So talagang when we are happy, parang it makes the home lively or alive. So when that happens, parang it makes it cheerful, bright, talagang lively sa bahay. So yes, for me, it is, of course, definitely synonymous.
Yeah, so yun yung answer na it's the same. Yung to the second part naman of PJ's question na how are they different, no? In some cases, I think it's different na you can look at it from the angle na happy means being satisfied, meaning maganda bahay mo, may aircon lahat ng kwarto mo, may masarap na pagkain kayo parate, walang problema, financially, or lahat ng kailangan nyo, nabibili nyo, ganun. Pwedeng ganung level na satisfied. Pero para sa amin, ang pinagkaiba ng happy home sa isang bright and cheerful home is parang yun yung nag-level up ka, kumbaga, na medyo ibang level na yun nga, sabi nga namin, kahit hindi satisfied lahat ng physical needs mo, pero una, tama yung pananaw mo pagdating sa problema. Pangalawa, pag may problema, alam mong part ito ng buhay and then masaya ka. Kasi alam mo, mayroon kang kaakibat kapag mayroon kang problema, meaning mga kapatid mo, mga magulang mo, nasusuportahan ka. Lalo na ngayong pandemic, I think maraming sa atin naka-realize na during this time, at the end of the day, na wala tayong bakasyon, walang malls na pwedeng pagbigran ng mamahaling mga gamit. Pero ngayon, nakita natin na, yung family ko pala is the one who will be there. So that's the difference between a happy home where you're just satisfied and a bright and cheerful home na yung cheerfulness mo and yung saya mo is really to the next level.
So parang a bright and cheerful home gives you that environment na kahit may problema, kayang kayanin as a family. Na pwede pa ring maharap ng magaan. Kasi pakiramdam mo, meron kang pamilyang masasandalan. Parang ganun yung...
Tama yun, no? Kasi ngayon, most of the time, people think pag happy means no problem. But for us, bright and cheerful person or family means you undergo the problems, you go through it knowing that you have people who love you and who will support you.
Parang napakalaking role ng faith doon, no? Faith, hope, para magkaroon ka ng cheerfulness na attitude. Kasi ganun eh.
Yeah.
Totoo yan. Kasi sa totoo lang ngayon, pati alam ko si PJ, negosyante rin yan, di ba? Pero mas big time yan kaysa sa akin kasi nagkakabayo na yung mga anak nyo. Pero yung sa amin, yung ako, na-realize ko, pinagdaanan nga namin ron, ako personally, yung negosyo ko, nahirapan itong nakaraang pandemic, no? Pero sa totoo lang, because of my wife and my family, meaning my brothers, my parents, and then also my kids, even though they're so young, I felt the love na nandun na, kahit, sige, malugi ng konti, ganito nangyari sa negosyo, meron kang pagsasandalan, di ba? And that will give you, tama ka, Rons, yung faith, hope, to be able to move on, to be excited about the future.
Mm-mm. Tama. I mean, despite naman talaga, wala naman talagang mundo na parang sabi nga natin walang problema. Pero ang take na lang natin talaga minsan siguro doon yung tawag ba na wag ka na lang umistambay doon sa problema kundi kung magalampasan nyo, parehong mag-asawa, di ba? Yung problema kasi wala namang mangyayari if you just
Dwell on the
dwell on the
problem.
problem di ba? So,
Correct.
yeah.
Saka ang ganda nung formation no na nabigay from upbringing. O si Leah growing up with lahat ng stages ng Couples for Christ, di ba? Parang ang laking role talaga nung faith to give you that sense of positivity and hope na kayang suungin kahit na anong problema. May question ka pa? Yeah, anyway, so parang ang laking role nung families nyo, nung background nyo on how you now that you have an idea of what the kind of home that you want to have in your own family. And now that the two of you as parents, is it something that you intentionally talked about as a couple na ganito yung gagawin natin sa family natin I want this kind of family environment. Pinag-usapan niya ba yan? Na parang, ito yung environment na gagawin natin, paano natin to i-build? Kasama ba yun sa goals niyo as couples?
Yes, to answer. So, we have talked about it in a way pa lang naman na casual conversation. Later on, I will expound. So, casual in the sense na since we joined the EduChild courses and then after a plenary session, there's a resolution for parents who attended that course. So what do you plan to do with your own family after hearing the discussion of the case? So in that level, we have talked about the bright and cheerful home. So actually, dun ko unang narinig yung phrase na yon from an EduChild course that I attended. And it was really enlightening and really learning filled for that session. So with that, after the plenary, we talked as a couple, how can we build a bright and cheerful home? But up to that discussion pa lang. And when Pao and I were discussing, we haven't really, seriously sat down, talagang somewhat like do a family visioning. Hindi pa namin yun nagawa. But on a basic discussion, we have started to bring it up.
Right. And I think what you realized is, yun nga, nung naisip namin yung question na yun, no? Parang it sort of made us reflect na, teka, may mga ginagawa naman tayo to do, to help build a bright and cheerful home. Yung isang thing that really came to mind was at the time na, for example, yun nga, yung hindi kami makalabas, so walang bagong toys yung mga bata. At the same time, medyo gipit din yung budget. I remember very distinctly one time, they saw belts, yung mga lumang belt ko nasa kwarto. Tapos before you know it, we were fishing, quote-unquote fishing, using the belts. So may mga toy fish sila, ginagano nila, tapos pagdating sa dulo, kinakabit namin yung fish, hinihila nila. So that's a very basic example lang. Ginagawa na pala namin. We didn't really do it on purpose, pero it's being resourceful and it's being creative when it comes to playing with the kids. And I think that's one of the aspects of building a bright and cheerful home.
That's so nice. Actually, pag inisip mo talaga, talaga namang at the back of our heads, for sure, we want to give our families a family environment that they'll cherish, di ba? And minsan nga pagkakaisip mo kung paano mo gagawin, minsan dun pa namamali. But when it happens more spontaneously,
Right.
parang yun yung nagiging moment talaga that the children learn, that the children really get to see everything, that's happening in the family, what makes them happy, casually, kaninang umaga tsaka nung isang gabi, tinatanong ko yung mga bata. Sabi ko, "Do you think we have a happy home?" Tinatanong ko silang ganyan. And they said yes. Sabi ko, "How did you say we have a happy home?" And the answers that they gave were, "Oh, because because we sleep." Yung isa kong daughter, si Ayla, sabi niya, kasi mommy, I get to sleep in your room and we get to spend time with you. Me every Tuesday night. Parang ganyan. So, di ba, very, very meaningful sa kanila yung mga simple things like that. And then si Janine, I asked her, siya naman, sagot naman niya, sabi niya, kasi mommy, we pray the rosary every night as a family. Parang, wow, may impact pala yung mga ganong bagay sa mga bata.
Correct.
So,
Correct. That's
very
true.
spontaneous, diba?
Yeah, tama yung sinabi mo, Ron, sorry. Parang one angle is the deliberate angle where you sit down with your spouse and then you just tell, okay, this is the type of kids that we want. How do we build bright and cheerful individuals, based on this vision that we have of those kids? And the other is yung sinasabi natin na spontaneous. Kasi ako actually, sakit ko rin to minsan kasi I'm very strict sometimes when it comes to rules. But then I realized, and Leah was quick to point out, and I learned from her also na dapat medyo flexible pagdating sa mga kids. Like for example, yung gadgets, hindi naman kailangan impunto to the last minute nandito. It's more about what is the objective of the gadget and what is the learning that comes out of it. And to be more flexible. Kasi sabi nga natin, happiness really or bright and cheerful homes will come from respecting the freedom of the kids rin.
Lumalabas din talaga yung personalities, no? Personalities ng mga magulang, temperaments, di ba? Ako personally, ako melancholic ako eh. Medyo challenge yung yung maging cheerful in a way kasi parang pag melancholic ka may gusto mo maayos, gusto mo perfect, ganyan. Sa inyo as a parent, si Paolo alam ko grabe ang sense of humor nito. Talaga naman ma-joke, 'di ba?
Super.
Paano nakakaapekto ba yung personality or yung temperament na mo personally in building a home? How does it affect? Leah?
Yes. So temperaments really play a big part on how we create a bright and cheerful home. So kami ni Pa, magkaiba kami. Temperament siya, choleric, sanguine, if you will put some combinations, pero more dominant choleric. Ako naman, sanguine melancholic. So more of sanguine naman, dominant part. So siya, very strict sa rules, sa time, medyo impatient,
Yung medyo, madalas impatient.
talaga.
Ganun ba ang choleric?
Aggressive siya. And talagang go-getter, ganyan. And talagang very, time strict. Siya yan. Ako naman, so sanguine as in, I like, social, outgoing, talagang, easy
Social
lang, and then social activities there. And I'm not very strict about time. Normally, I extend and talagang I like, enjoying socials, ganyan. And so how we create a bright and cheerful home affects that. Kasi siya yung can set the rules. Ako sometimes, I tell him to let's be flexible with the rules and let our children enjoy. So there, we talk about, we compromise. So, iba kami, but we agree on certain boundaries or rules, and then we do it with our children. So, and how we also manage, for example, our children's tantrums. For example, so we have two kids, Bella and Enzo. Bella is like Pao, choleric. And then my son, si Enzo, sanguine. So, mas kagaya ko. So, parang may kanya-kanya kami kapareho ng personality or temperament. So, pag choleric si Bella, kapag nagtatantrum, kapag talagang may gusto siyang makuha, hindi niya pwedeng tapatan ng pagsigaw niya, kapag pag-clash sa kanya. It needs to be calm down. You can't really scream at her or, get mad at her. Kasi hindi siya talaga lalong makikinig. So, I approach her calmly and talagang help her calm down. So that's an example of how we.
Yeah. So if I may add, although si Ron knows this better than anyone kasi specialty talaga niya yung temperaments, I'm sure alam niya na paano i-manipulate si Pjay at Leah. But to add lang to maybe the next layer, no, to what Leah was pointing out, is I think bright and cheerful homes can be detected in how these different temperaments interact. What do I mean by that? A while ago, we were talking about forgiving, understanding, and acceptance. So all these temperaments, there has to be a dynamic wherein the opposites will have to understand and adjust and accept each other. Kasi if you take them in isolation and say, okay, better if lahat tayong apat, choleric or sanguine, there's not a bright and cheerful home there. Maybe that will what you will maybe define as a satisfied, no problem home na walang away. Pero meron mang pagmamahal, baka wala rin. Kasi ang totoong bright and cheerful home sa aming paniniwala ay yung home na nag-mesh together peacefully and with understanding, with forgiving, and with love ang iba't ibang klaseng temperaments.
So parang ano, no? It's a kind of home wherein there are differences, but despite those differences, each member of the family blends, no? So that by the end of the day, maybe you're different, but you see only one family na different colors, di ba? Parang magandang, na kahit magulo, di ba parang abstract, di ba?
Yes,
Pag
yes,
abstract na painting or yeah, artwork, parang iba-iba, hindi mo nga maintindihan, di ba? But when you look at it, it gives you a beautiful picture with and the interpretation is, also very different from one another. Pero collectively, it's beautiful. Parang
Right.
there's a beauty in that chaos.
Correct.
Parang gano'n, no?
Correct. Well said.
Parang nag-extend na tayo ng time natin, no? Or this conversation I know can go on and on, lalo na pag pinag-usapan natin mga sense of humor. Kasi I know Tita Vangie, super kulit nun. Kaya for sure si Paolo ganun din. No? But with the time that we have, siguro let's look into some tips to
Yeah.
other parents. No?
Yeah.
What are your tips on how to build a bright and cheerful home?
I think the number one and most important tip talaga is to love your spouse and be a good husband and a good wife, di ba? To your spouse. Why? Dalawang bagay yun eh. Una, kasi yun yung example na makikita ng mga anak nyo kung ano ba talaga ang love. Kung ano ang bright, ano ang cheerful. Hindi naman nila makikita yan sa barkada, hindi naman ituturo talaga yan ng mga teacher nila sa kanila. Kung siguro makikita nila yung ehemplo sa labas ng bahay, posible mali pa yung example na makikita nila. So, love your spouse. Yun yung unang reason. Pangalawang reason is because kayo ng spouse nyo, dapat kayo yung gumawa ng so-called baseline, no? Na ano ba ang type of vision that we want for our family. And you have to be more or less on the same page. Kami ni Leah were 5 years into marriage. As any married couple would know, the first few years may power grab yan, power struggle. Even until now, may ganun pa rin kami. Sino ba talaga? Pares kami panganay. So there's really the struggle there, di ba? Turo sa akin ng tatay ko, maging under ka na lang pag wala kang...
Happy wife, happy life kasi.
Ganun na lang talaga.
So, pero Pidge, happy spouse, happy house, di ba? May ganung...
May
May kanya-kanya
panglaban.
tayong rules siguro.
Yeah. So, that would be my first tip is to love your spouse. And that's the priority, more than loving your children. And, everything will flow from there. So, si Leah, I think, might have another tip.
Agree naman. So, after the spouse, for me, talaga as mother, the maternal love and instinct is there. So me, talagang I'm enthusiastic and energetic. So I frequently praise my children. As in, I give them praise. I shower them with all the compliments when they do even a small thing, a good small thing, and especially a big thing. So I really say, thank you, good job. So I always recognize the effort that they put into, for example, when they share their food, when Bella shares to Enzo and vice versa, and when they pack away their things, their toys, they help. So talagang I shower them with praises, and both of them are actually doing online schooling. So when they really were able to finish na their 1 hour, 1.5 our class. I say, "Oh, how was your class?" And then, "No, I did like this. We drew, we learned the numbers. So, wow, that's great." And then she will show me the artwork, or Enzo will also do that. So, good job. That's very nice. And so we display it in their rooms. We post it in their wall. They have an art wall there. So we give them praise talaga. So they will feel, of course, good about themselves. It will encourage more good, positive behavior pa.
I think another tip that we want to emphasize is use time, no? Time into two dimensions, meaning you spend or waste time with them. Yung sinasabi natin na, quality time, I'm a bit skeptical about that kasi there are a lot of literature which says that you really need to waste time with your kids, meaning you have to be there for them, and then you play with them. Hindi yung parang quality time. We go on this trip kasi that's good and all, pero what's important is you waste time. No? The second element of time is the time you give your kids to change and how you actually try to mold them. And I think that alludes a bit to patience. No? Patience with your kids and patience with your spouse. Kasi syempre, all of us have our defects. And especially when we look at our kids, we have a certain expectation of how we want them to be. Ako, I'm quite impatient. So I work on that constantly. Na okay, ito yung panganay namin, how do we get her to arrive at the vision of how we feel she will be a good Christian lady.
And
Wow,
then
yes, there's
we have
more.
some more tips. Yeah,
Yes.
Creating or building a bright and cheerful home might be limited lang ba to our own family, but it can also be extended in a way to others, to our relatives. For example, it's opening also our home to others. So when we welcome also other people into our home in a happy and accommodating way, that's also one way of building that. So they can see that we welcome people, we allow our lolas, cousins into our home. So they're also part of that. So parang creating that home encourages and allowing them to go to visit us. So that also, they can see that this home is a space for other people who are welcome, that we can also serve into our own house, in our own home as well.
I think the second to the last tip is we spend quiet time. No? When we say quiet time, syempre one aspect of that is prayer. Diba? We pray the rosary together, whatever. We do a visit lang to Blessed Sacrament. Sometimes when we go on a trip, para lang ma-appreciate nila that we're giving thanks for the trip that we went on. We just passed by the church and they just blow a flying kiss and just say, Lord, thank you for the trip. We were safe, etc. Another element of quiet time is yung kayo, walking lang in the village, you spend time with them. You don't really, sometimes yun nga, yung wasting time. You don't have to be active all the time. Kasi minsan, sa quiet time, doon nag-open up sa inyo yung mga anak nyo and yung spouse ninyo.
And then the last tip we can share is to have that spirit of service in our home. So we either serve one another, we help one another, and support one another. So that can be in the ways na, for example, we help set the table, ganyan, and we also help clear the table, and also asking them to lead the prayer, for example, grace before meals, and then pass the food, share the food over the table during mealtime. So in that way, we serve others. And later on, it will translate to bigger forms of service when they're grown up na. So the spirit of service, we help ensure that ginagawa din namin yun sa bahay para to see that it's not just, we are not just after ourselves, hindi lang selfish, hindi lang para sa sarili natin, but also sharing our time, talent, treasures to each other in the home.
Kasi ultimately, that's really what will make someone cheerful and happy. Is to be able to give and to serve. And in a society ngayon na napakahirap, na me, with all these social media challenges, where you want our kids to be raised in an environment na the happy person is the person not receiving all the time, but the one who's giving all the time.
So last na lang pala.
Service.
Yeah, so in that manner, when we serve, when we love, diba, we will the good of the other person. And especially ako, highlight ko lang talaga, when it's the birthday of me, Pao, or our children, ako talaga, kailangan big celebration. Hindi naman sa pagsuspend, but it's really more of making the person feel loved and happy and talagang special that day. So for example when I was my kids, we really prepare, let's say the shirts, let's say Coco Melon shirts, because gusto ni Bella Coco Melon. So we prepare the shirts and also the cake, Coco Melon theme. So just as one way to express and support her likes and interests, ganyan. So we had that celebration with her, and talagang we have a happy, alive, and colorful celebration at home. Pag mga birthdays, we celebrate their lives, our lives in that joyous way. So,
Wow, ang daming tips,
Galing,
ano? Actually,
galing.
sinulat ko yung mga tips niya, no? Parang to summarize all the tips that you've given, you've mentioned, in order to create a bright and cheerful home, the number one is really to love your spouse. Tandaan mo yan, Bia, love me. And then, sabi niyo din, the use of praises for our children whenever they do something good. I think this one really would create positivity at home. Diba? When it's when praise is used in the right way, especially when you encourage them to do good things. Then the use of time, no, spending time with our children, wasting time with them, no, for sure that habit of putting them to sleep every night is really very powerful. Kasi yung mga patulog doon, yung lumalabas yung mga conversations, parang may impact pala yung small
correct.
things, diba?
Nagkukwento sila.
Yes, nagkukwento. And then you also mentioned being patient, no? Being patient with each member of the family. Kung ang personality mo medyo choleric, you know, you also learn how to be more patient. No? It really takes a lot of self-knowledge in order to create something beautiful also for the home. And then you also mentioned another tip is welcoming other people in our homes, in our lives, because for sure that's where social interaction would come in. No? Marami tayong matututunan with other people there. And then you also mentioned quiet time like prayer or simple walking. And then the last one is you mentioned the spirit of service. Because really, the person who gives and be of service to others, these are actually the people who are happy. Diba? Sabi nga sa Bible, diba? Jesus loves the cheerful giver. Parang ganon. I don't remember the exact line, pero something like that, diba? So, wow, thank you very much for this tips that you've given us, Paolo, Leah, and I think we can learn more, but with the time that we have, we're gonna end our episode today.
But before we end, no, we usually end our episode from the book, no, Amoris Laetitia. So, B, pwede mo bang basahin as parting, message yung from Amoris Laetitia mula kay Pope Francis?
Okay. From his book, The Love of a Mother and a Father. Children, once born, begin to receive, along with nourishment and care, the spiritual gift of knowing with certainty that they are loved. This love is shown to them through the gift of their personal name, the sharing of language, looks of love, and the brightness of a smile. In this way, they learn the beauty of human relationship touches our soul, seeks our freedom, accepts the differences of others, recognizes and respects them as a partner in dialogue. Such is love, and it contains a spark of God's love.
Wow. So, yeah, that's a wrap on our episode today on helping families building a bright and cheerful home. So again, thank you for watching, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up. No? So if you got this far, thank you for watching. So if you like this video, don't forget to press like, click like, and
Follow this channel.
subscribe and follow the channel.
Faith Watch, and you may also download our app Faith Watch in Google Play Store. So for comments on how we can improve or suggestions on what topics you would like us to cover, please type them in the comments below. Please know that we do read your comments, and see you next week. Let's make our homes bright and cheerful. Bye.
Bye-bye.